Good evening. This is All India Radio. I am Saira Mujtaba and with me is Nipunika Shahid with the evening news. The headlines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi joins world leaders at the G20 summit in Rome. Economic and health recovery, climate change and sustainable development high on agenda. Prime Minister meets presidents of US, France and his counterparts from Britain and Canada on sidelines of G20 summit. Holds discussion with Pope Francis at Vatican on COVID-19 pandemic and climate change. Centre says it is committed to releasing funds for proper implementation of Manrega scheme. Rural Development Ministry launches initiative to enable rural women self-help groups to earn at least 1 lakh rupees per annum. Home Minister Amit Shah launches several projects in Uttarakhand. Voting concludes peacefully for by-elections to 3 Lok Sabha and 29 Assembly constituencies in 13 states. Over 105 crore 49 lakh COVID vaccine doses administered in the country so far. Recovery rate stands at 98.19%. Prestigious annual Sardar Patel Memorial Lecture of All India Radio to be delivered by Chief of Defence Staff General Bipin Rawat tomorrow. In French Open Badminton, PV Sindhu loses to Japan's Sayaka Takahashi in women's singles semi-finals. And in T20 Cricket World Cup, India to take on New Zealand in Dubai tomorrow. South Africa beat Sri Lanka by 4 wickets in Sharjah. As India created history by administering 100 crore vaccine doses against COVID-19, All India Radio salutes all the doctors, nurses, frontline workers and all those who got vaccinated and made this possible. Even though the country has achieved this feat, we caution our listeners that the battle against COVID is not yet over. We appeal to our listeners to get fully vaccinated at the earliest and also help others get vaccinated. During the festive season, please follow these 3 simple steps. Wear a face mask, maintain 2 gaz ki duri for social distancing, focus on hand and face hygiene. For any COVID-related information and guidance, contact national helpline numbers 01123978046 and 1075. And now the news in detail. The 2-day 16th G20 summit began today in Rome, Italy. Prime Minister Narendra Modi, along with global leaders, are participating in the summit. This year, the summit is centered around the theme People, Planet, Prosperity. The thrust of the summit is on economic and health recovery, climate change and sustainable development. Today's session was on global economy and global health, and it was very significant in view of COVID-19 pandemic. The leaders discussed the global economic and health recovery and the way forward. India has been a strong advocate in the G20 for supporting equitable and affordable access to COVID-19 disease control tools, including vaccines and diagnostics through technology transfer, diversification of supply chains and production house. New Delhi has also proposed mutual recognition of COVID-19 vaccine certificate at the G20 summit. On the sidelines of the G20 summit, Mr. Modi interacted with various leaders including US President Joe Biden, French President Emmanuel Macron, British Prime Minister Boris Johnson, Prime Minister of Canada Justin Trudeau, German Chancellor Angela Merkel, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres, and WHO Director General Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus. Mr. Modi and French President Macron held bilateral meeting on the sidelines of the G20 summit. The 2 leaders had a productive discussion. Prime Minister's office said India and France are cooperating extensively in various sectors, and today's talks will add momentum to the bilateral ties between the 2 nations. Mr. Modi also held bilateral meeting with his Singaporean counterpart Lee Hsien Loong. Prime Minister's office said the 2 leaders reviewed the full range of the friendly ties between India and Singapore. Today, Mr. Modi will also hold a meeting with President of Indonesia and discuss ways to strengthen bilateral relations. Tomorrow, Mr. Modi will hold bilateral meetings with Prime Minister of Spain and German Chancellor in Rome. Tomorrow's session in the summit will be on climate change and environment and sustainable development.
Prime Minister Modi today met Pope Francis at Vatican City ahead of G20 summit. They discussed the COVID-19 pandemic and its consequences for people across the world. They also discussed the challenge posed by climate change. The Prime Minister briefed the Pope about the ambitious initiatives taken by India in combating climate change as well as India's success in administering 1 billion COVID-19 vaccination doses. Our correspondent covering the Prime Minister's visit has filed this report.
Pope Francis appreciated India's assistance to countries in need during the COVID-19 pandemic. They discussed a wide range of issues aimed at making the planet better, such as fighting climate change and removing poverty. The meeting that was scheduled only for 20 minutes went on for an hour. Prime Minister Narendra Modi extended an invitation to Pope Francis to visit India at an early date, which was accepted with pleasure. This was the first meeting between an Indian Prime Minister and the Pope in more than 2 decades. In June 2000, former Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee had last visited the Vatican City and met the then Pope John Paul II. Divakar, AR News, Rome.
India and the Holy See have friendly relations dating back to the establishment of diplomatic relations in 1948. India is home to the second largest Catholic population in Asia. The Prime Minister reached Rome yesterday on a 5-day visit to attend the G20 summit and the World Leaders Summit of COP26 in Glasgow. Commerce Minister and India's G20 Sherpa Piyush Goyal has said that G20 nations have endorsed India's position that extensive COVID immunization is a global public good. Briefing the media during the meeting of G20 Sherpas in Rome, Mr. Goyal said the agenda of the meeting so far have included several important interventions from India.
The G20 nations have endorsed India's position that extensive COVID-19 immunization is a global public good. I'm also happy to share with you that we got tremendous support from the G20 nations for our suggestion on mutual recognition of travel documents, including testing and vaccine certificates.
In Rome, Mr. Goyal participated in the 6th G20 Sherpas meeting from the 27th to the 29th of this month. The agenda of the Sherpas meeting was to finalize the Rome Declaration, which would be adopted by the G20 leaders at the summit. The Union Government today said that it is committed to release funds for wage and material payments for proper implementation of the Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act, MNREGA scheme. MNREGA provides the guarantee of at least 100 days of wage employment against the demand made by a household in a rural area. Rural Development Ministry said during the current financial year, so far more than 222 crore person days has been generated. It said a total of more than 6 crore households have got wage employment during the current financial year against their demand. It added that employment has been offered to 99.63% of the total demand of wage employment, and against the offer of employment, a total of 87.35% of beneficiaries has turned up for work as per their will. The ministry said fund release towards wage and material is a continuous process, and there has been an increase of more than 18% of funds allocation for the current financial year in comparison to the previous financial year as a budget estimate. It said during the current financial year, so far more than 63,793 crore rupees have been released for the implementation of the scheme in the states and the UTs.
The government has said that 2 crore 50 lakh rural women self-help groups will be provided livelihood support in the next 2 years. The Rural Development Ministry said the government has launched an initiative to enable rural women of self-help groups to earn at least 1 lakh rupees per annum. The ministry said based on various models existing across the country, a detailed advisory has been issued to the state governments. Under the National Rural Livelihood Mission, poor women from different cross-sections of class and caste form self-help groups and their federations, providing financial, economic and social development services to their members for enhancing their income and quality of life. Union Minister for Home Affairs and Cooperation Amit Shah, along with Uttarakhand Chief Minister Pushkar Singh Dhami, launched several projects in Dehradun today. These include Mukhyamantri Ghasiari Kalyan Yojana, computerization of 670 cooperative societies and Cooperative Society Training Center. Mukhyamantri Ghasiari Kalyan Yojana will work to reduce the burden on the heads of the Ghasiari sisters living in the mountains. Under the scheme, fodder will be provided at the rate of 2 rupees per kg at a 50% subsidy. Speaking on the occasion, the Union Minister said farmers are getting the benefits of the schemes. He said that the members of the society would be benefited from the computerization of primary agricultural credit societies. He said that the central government is also taking this step now.
आज पैक्स प्राइमरी एग्रीकल्चर सोसाइटी उत्तराखंड में जितनी भी ग्रामीण सोसाइटियां हैं इस सब का कंप्यूटराइजेशन करने का काम आज उत्तराखंड ने समाप्त कर। जब कंप्यूटराइजेशन होता है तो पैक्स के मेंबरान को कभी घपले घोटाले का सामना करने की जरूरत नहीं पड़ती। जब कंप्यूटराइजेशन हो जाता है तब किसानों की जितनी भी योजनाएं हैं वो पैक्स के माध्यम से सीधे किसान तक पहुंचाने की व्यवस्था हो जाती है। मोदी जी के नेतृत्व में भारत सरकार भी एक कार्य योजना बना रही है जिसके तहत देश भर के सारे एग्रीकल्चर सोसाइटी को पैक्स को हम कंप्यूटराइज कर जिला बैंक, स्टेट कोऑपरेटिव बैंक और नाबार्ड के साथ जोड़ने का प्रयास करेंगे।
Mr. Shah said that good work has been done in the state under the leadership of Chief Minister Pushkar Singh Dhami during the recent natural calamity and corona period. He said that development work is going on in Badrinath Dham and reconstruction work in Kedarnath is nearing completion. The Union Minister said that work is going on schemes worth about 85,000 crore rupees across the state. Union Minister of Information and Broadcasting and Youth Affairs and Sports Anurag Singh Thakur today said that the motive of the Clean India program is not only to make our country clean, but also to change the mindset of people to keep their surroundings clean. He was speaking at a seminar on Clean India program under Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav at Dr. Ram Manohar Lohia Awadh University, Ayodhya.
जो भारतीय जनता पार्टी ने वायदा किया था कि भव्य राम मंदिर बनाएंगे, वो सपना भी साकार करने का काम मोदी जी ने और योगी जी ने किया है। नींव पत्थर राम मंदिर का रख दिया है, अगले 2 सालों के अंदर भव्य राम मंदिर बनकर भी तैयार हो जाएगा। इस बार की दीपावली पर भी दीपोत्सव से पहले हमें पूरे अयोध्या में शानदार स्वच्छता अभियान चलाना चाहिए और पूरी अयोध्या को साफ सुथरा करने का काम करना चाहिए।
Polling for by-post to 3 Lok Sabha and 29 Assembly seats spread over 13 states concluded peacefully this evening. Lok Sabha by-polls were held for Khandwa Lok Sabha constituency in Madhya Pradesh, Mandi in Himachal Pradesh and Dadra and Nagar Haveli. The by-elections for 29 Assembly seats was held in 13 states including Assam, West Bengal, Madhya Pradesh, Himachal Pradesh, Bihar, Karnataka, Haryana and Maharashtra. In Madhya Pradesh, 59.02% voting was recorded in Khandwa Lok Sabha seat, while 50.9% in Jobat, 76.05% in Prithvipur and 66.66% polling was recorded in Raigaon Assembly constituencies till 5 p.m. In Bihar, around 49.59% voters exercised their franchise in the by-elections for Tarapur and Kusheshwar Asthan Assembly constituencies. In Haryana, polling for by-polls in the Ilanabad Assembly constituency was held today. 78% polling was reported till 5 p.m. Counting of votes will take place on the 2nd of next month. In Nagaland, the candidate of Nationalist Democratic Progressive Party (NDPP), S. Kyoshu Yimshungere of Sangpur village, was earlier declared elected uncontested to the Shamator Chesor Assembly constituency.
Over 105 crore 49 lakh COVID vaccine doses have been administered so far under the nationwide vaccination drive. In the last 24 hours, a total of 14,313 new cases were reported and over 13,543 recoveries were recorded. Recovery rate is currently at 98.19%. India's active caseload stands at 1,61,555. In our bilingual live phone-in program, Corona Jagrukta series, Dr. Suryakant Tripathi of King George's Medical University, Lucknow, will be with us tonight to answer the queries related to coronavirus. Listeners can ask questions to the expert from 9:30 p.m. on toll-free number 1800115767 and on telephone number 011-2331-4444. You can also post your queries on our Twitter handle @AIR News Alerts by hashtag AskAIR. This live program can be heard on FM Gold channel and additional frequencies from 9:30 p.m. onwards. This program will also be available on our website newsonair.gov.in and on our YouTube channel News on AIR Official. In the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir, an army officer and a soldier were critically injured in a mysterious explosion in Kalal sector of Naushera in Rajouri district today. Our correspondent reports that the injured officials were taken to Command Hospital in Udhampur for treatment, but both succumbed to injuries. The explosion occurred near the LOC in the Kalal sector of Naushera this afternoon, in which the two army personnel were injured. You are listening to the evening news on All India Radio. A reminder of the headlines before we move on. Prime Minister Narendra Modi joins world leaders at the G20 summit in Rome. Economic and health recovery, climate change and sustainable development high on agenda. Prime Minister meets President of US, France and his counterparts from Britain and Canada on sidelines of G20 summit, holds discussion with Pope Francis at Vatican on COVID-19 pandemic and climate change. Centre says it is committed to releasing funds for proper implementation of Manrega scheme. Rural Development Ministry launches initiative to enable rural women's self-help groups to earn at least 1 lakh rupees per annum. Home Minister Amit Shah launches several projects in Uttarakhand. Voting concludes peacefully for by-elections to 3 Lok Sabha and 29 Assembly constituencies in 13 states. Over 105 crore 49 lakh COVID-19 vaccine doses administered in the country so far. Recovery rate stands at 98.19%. Prestigious Annual Sardar Patel Memorial Lecture of All India Radio to be delivered by Chief of Defence Staff General Bipin Rawat tomorrow. In French Open Badminton, PV Sindhu loses to Japan's Sayaka Takahashi in women's singles semi-finals. And in T20 Cricket World Cup, India to take on New Zealand in Dubai tomorrow. South Africa beat Sri Lanka by 4 wickets in Sharjah. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on our Twitter handle @AIR News Alerts.
चलो मिलकर एक शुरुआत करें, चलो एक फैसला आज करें, मास्क नहीं तो टोकेंगे, कोरोना को रोकेंगे, चलो एक इरादा करते हैं, चलो कुछ वादा करते हैं, मास्क नहीं तो टोकेंगे, कोरोना को रोकेंगे.
आजादी के आंदोलन के खजाने में ऐसे ढेरों शब्द जिन्होंने बदल दिए इतिहास, तारीख बदलने वाले लफ्जों पर आकाशवाणी समाचार ला रहा है विशेष कार्यक्रम धरोहर हर सोमवार.
Welcome back. You're listening to the evening news. On the occasion of Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel's birth anniversary, Rashtriya Ekta Divas will be celebrated tomorrow. The main function will be held at the Statue of Unity, the world's tallest statue of Sardar Patel at Kevadia in Gujarat. Union Home Minister Amit Shah will attend the Rashtriya Ekta Divas parade at the Statue of Unity in Gujarat. More from our correspondent.
Sardar Patel's birth anniversary is celebrated as Rashtriya Ekta Divas since 2014 with a national-level celebrations at the Statue of Unity. Earlier, Prime Minister Narendra Modi was scheduled to attend the Rashtriya Ekta Divas parade at Kevadia, but now Union Home Minister Amit Shah will attend the function as the Prime Minister Modi is in Rome for G20 summit. Gujarat Chief Minister Bhupendra Patel will also remain present on this occasion. As part of the celebrations, Ekta parade will be held at the venue Yogesh Pandya, AIR News, Ahmedabad.
All India Radio's prestigious annual Sardar Patel Memorial Lecture will be delivered this year by India's Chief of Defence Staff, General Bipin Rawat. CDS General Bipin Rawat will talk about role of Indian Armed Forces in nation building. The lecture will be broadcast on the occasion of Sardar Patel's birth anniversary tomorrow across All India Radio Network at 9:30 p.m. The visual version of the lecture will be telecast on DD National the same day at 10 p.m. As our nation celebrates the 75th year of independence, a series of events is being organized by the government as part of Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. To commemorate the occasion as a Jan Utsav, All India Radio News brings to its listeners a special quiz on India's freedom movement and its glorious history. The quiz is being conducted every Monday and Tuesday in Morning News since 16th of August and will continue till 15th of August 2022. India Post has joined hands as the logistics partner with All India Radio News for the Amrit Mahotsav quiz. Listeners can send their responses to the question over WhatsApp on 8826546262 or through email on amritmahotsavquiz@prasarbharati.gov.in. And now, let's listen to our special program Azadi Ka Safar, highlighting the importance of the day during the freedom struggle.
Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. Azadi Ka Safar with AIR News. Birth of a Nation. India's glorious freedom struggle is one of the greatest struggles the modern world has ever witnessed. AIR News brings you a glimpse of the struggle every day.
30th October has a great significance in the history of India's freedom movement. On this day in 1928, an incident took place which played a great role in changing the nature of the freedom struggle. The British government sent a 7-member commission to India under the chairmanship of Sir John Simon.
The commission was given the responsibility to prepare a report on how well the 1919 Government of India Act was working. There was deep resentment in India over the composition of the commission as it did not include any Indian delegates. As a result, the Indian National Congress decided to boycott the commission.
On 30th of October 1928, the commission was met by protesters waving black flags upon its arrival at the Lahore railway station. The peaceful protest was led by Lala Lajpat Rai, who had moved a resolution against the commission in the Legislative Assembly of Punjab in February 1928.
In order to make way for the commission, the local police force began beating protesters. British police officer James A. Scott ordered a lathi charge, and Lala Lajpat Rai was among the protesters injured seriously. Refusing to buckle down, Lala Lajpat Rai said,
"I declare that the blows struck at me today will be the last nails in the coffin of British rule in India."
Rai did not recover from the blows received during the protest and died on November 17, 1928, following a heart attack. Doctors believed that the assault by Scott led to his death.
While the British Parliament refused to accept any role in the death of Lala Lajpat Rai, revolutionaries Chandrasekhar Azad, Bhagat Singh and their associates, however, vowed to avenge his death. They plotted to assassinate James Scott, the official who ordered the lathi charge. A month after Rai's death, they killed Assistant Superintendent of Police J.P. Saunders, mistaking him for James A. Scott.
This incident took place not very far from the National College of Lahore, which was set up by Lala Lajpat Rai in the early 1920s as part of nationalization of education. It was in this college that Bhagat Singh met his comrades-in-arms Sukhdev, Yashpal, Ramakrishna and Bhagwati Charan Vora. Together, they formed a leftist revolutionary party called Naujawan Bharat Sabha.
30th October also marks the death anniversary of Swami Dayanand Saraswati, who founded the Arya Samaj at Lahore in 1877. The Hindu revivalist movement looked to modernize Hinduism by removing some of its corrupting influences and seek the essence of Vedic culture that it believed represented the religion's true form.
As an outspoken person, Swami Dayanand strongly resisted social ills and outdated religious practices. In this process, he made enemies, many of whom also tried to harm him. He survived many such attempts till September 29, 1883, when his own cook gave him a glass of poisoned milk. The Swami suffered in pain for a month before he died on October 30, 1883.
Though Swami Dayanand was not directly involved in politics, his teachings found a lot of resonance with the freedom struggle. They also influenced and inspired a large number of freedom fighters such as Ram Prasad Bismil, Subhash Chandra Bose, Bhagat Singh and Lala Lajpat Rai. Bhagat Singh was an alumnus of the Dayanand Anglo-Vedic School in Lahore. That brings us to the end of this episode of Azadi Ka Safar with AIR News. See you in the next episode tomorrow.
In the run-up to the UN Climate Summit or the Conference of Parties COP26, All India Radio brings to you a Ready Reckoner. Under the COP26 Explainer series, we will bring you daily the terms and concepts that will be in use over the next fortnight. Today we should talk about greenhouse gases. Greenhouse gases are the gases which lead to a rise in Earth temperature and are a major contributor to the global warming. Carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, sulfur dioxide, methane, nitrous oxide, chlorofluorocarbons or the CFCs are among them. Hence, the need to reduce the greenhouse gases emission and switching over to environment-friendly solutions for a better and greener Earth. In ICC Men's T20 Cricket World Cup, South Africa defeated Sri Lanka by 4 wickets in Sharjah Cricket Stadium this evening. In another match, Australia were 110 for 6 in 18 overs against England at Dubai International Stadium when reports last came in. Tomorrow, India will take on New Zealand in Dubai International Stadium at 7:30 p.m. Prior to this, Afghanistan will face Namibia in Sheikh Zayed Stadium, Abu Dhabi at 3:30 p.m. In French Open Badminton, PV Sindhu lost to Japan's Sayaka Takahashi in the semi-final of the women's singles in Paris. The two-time Olympic medalist PV Sindhu was the last remaining Indian badminton player at the BWF World Tour event. And now let's take a look at the weather forecast for tomorrow. National capital Delhi, Mumbai, Kolkata will have a mainly clear sky. Chennai is expected to have a generally cloudy sky with moderate rain. Srinagar, Jammu, Gilgit will have a mainly clear sky. Leh is likely to witness a partly cloudy sky. Guwahati, Imphal, Shillong and Agartala will have fog in the morning and mainly clear sky later. Aizawl, Kohima and Itanagar will have a mainly clear sky. And now, before we end the bulletin, the headlines once again. Prime Minister Modi joins world leaders at the G20 summit in Rome. Economic and health recovery, climate change and sustainable development high on agenda. Prime Minister meets presidents of US, France and his counterparts from Britain and Canada on sidelines of G20 summit. Holds discussion with Pope Francis at Vatican on COVID-19 pandemic and climate change. Centre says it is committed to releasing funds for proper implementation of Manrega scheme. Rural Development Ministry launches initiative to enable rural women self-help groups to earn at least 1 lakh rupees per annum. Home Minister Amit Shah launches several projects in Uttarakhand. Voting concludes peacefully for by-elections to 3 Lok Sabha and 29 Assembly constituencies in 13 states. Over 105 crore 49 lakh COVID vaccine doses administered in the country so far. Recovery rate stands at 98.19%.
Prestigious annual Sardar Patel Memorial Lecture of All India Radio to be delivered by Chief of Defence Staff General Bipin Rawat tomorrow. In French Open Badminton, PV Sindhu loses to Japan's Ayaka Takahashi in women's singles semi-finals. And in T20 Cricket World Cup, India to take on New Zealand in Dubai tomorrow. South Africa beat Sri Lanka by 4 wickets in Sharjah. And with that, we end the evening news. Good night.